What's up guys, it's Ella, welcome to my channel whether you're new here or not, and today we are going to be doing the mid-year book freakout tag. I know this tag is usually done in June, like halfway throughout the year, but I figured July was also sufficient, and if it helps you, if you're really bothered by the fact that this is out in July, I'm filming it in June, so there you go. What the mid-year book freakout tag is a tag that's like been going around BookTube, and it did last year and I think the year before that, where you answer questions about your reading up to the 6-month point of the year, the mid-year point. The books, I feel like it's pretty self-explanatory. I have the questions here. I don't really know how many questions there are because I didn't number them, but we're just gonna get started. The first question is best book you've read so far in 2022. For this one, I have two. I have All Roads Lead Here and Love in Other Words. All Roads Lead Here is by Mariana Zapata. Love in Other Words is by Christina Lauren. I feel like if you've watched any other videos on my channel, you know how I feel about these two books, but if you don't, I will give you a brief synopsis. All Roads Lead Here was the first book I read in 2022. I gave it 5 stars. It is grumpy sunshine, single parent trope, slow burn. It's about a girl who goes through a breakup and moves back to the town that she was raised in until her mom went missing because her mom was a hiker. Her mom went missing while hiking, was never found again. Ends up staying in this apartment that the landlord actually didn't know was being rented out. It's like a garage apartment. And the guy who owns the apartment didn't realize that his son was renting it out. And so now it's like forced proximity a little bit because she's living on his property. I absolutely loved it. I absolutely loved Tobias Rhodes. It was a really great book. The other one, Love in Other Words, I'm talking so fast. Okay, sorry. Dual timeline. It's about a girl her and her dad buy this lake house. The people who live in the lake house next to theirs is like 2 boys around her age. One of them, Elliot, she ends up, forming like a really close friendship and like shows them every summer in the past until they fall in love and then something happens and they go their separate ways. Then they reunite a certain amount of years later. Absolutely loved both of those books. I read them, I think, in like January and February. I think like I said, All Roads Lead Here was the first book that I read in 2022, and it really was hard for anything to live up to it. And then Love in Other Words, absolutely adored it. Very different books, but I loved them both just the same. The next question is best sequel you read in 2022, and as I was going through my Goodreads, I realized I don't read sequels very much apparently. I'm not a huge series person. That just feels like a lot to commit to, unless it's like a fantasy series, and I haven't read any of those this year. So I will say Ever After Always by Chloe Liese. I don't know how to pronounce it. Liese. I've talked about this in other videos. It's the 3rd book in the Bergman Brothers series, so I'm counting it as a sequel, even though I haven't read the first 2 books in the series, but they are on my list, and we'll get to that later. New release you haven't gotten to, but would like to. The answer to this one is very easy for me. It's My Killer Vacation by Tessa Bailey. This book, I haven't picked it up because I just haven't really been in the mood for like a mystery. I just read Survive the Night by Riley Sager. My Alexa had opinions, I guess. I haven't read this book because I haven't really been in the mood for a mystery. I just read a thriller that I wasn't super impressed with, and I know that this one has like mystery thrillery elements to it. And it's not something I'm super oh my goodness. It's not something I'm super interested in picking up right now, but the second that I need something mystery, like a little bit darker than the traditional romance, this will be what I reach for. I'm really excited to read it. I just haven't gotten around to it. I think it only came out last week, so I might be being a little bit hard on myself. I love Tessa Bailey. I adore her. The next question is most anticipated release for the rest of 2022. I have 2 that I'm really anticipating. My most anticipated release for the whole year was Book Lovers by Emily Henry, but there's 2 that are following close behind, and that's Love on the Brain by Ali Hazelwood. That book comes out August 23rd. And then there's The American Roommate Experiment by Elena Armas, which comes out September 6th. So I'm really excited because Ali Hazelwood wrote The Love Hypothesis, one of my favorites, and I'm really loving all the novellas she's putting out right now. I absolutely adore them. And then Elena Armas, I cannot think today. I'm legitimately very worried about my brain. Elena Armas wrote The Spanish Love Deception, and I loved that book too. So, very excited for both of those. Both of the, like, The Love Hypothesis and The Spanish Love Deception were, like, their debut novels, so it'll be really interesting to see what they come up with now. The next question is Biggest Disappointment. Hook, Line, and Sinker by Tessa Bailey, which is so funny because I was just talking about how excited I am to read Tessa Bailey's newest release. I talked about this book in my Every Book I've Read So Far in 2022 video, which was like my first video, I think. Pretty sure. Very disappointing. Very much did not enjoy. Very much was not impressed. Didn't buy Fox's sob story. And Hannah, I felt like had so much potential as a character and kind of fell flat. So, especially compared to It Happened One Summer, which is one of my absolute favorites. It's one of my 5-star reads. I just, unfortunately was not impressed with this book. Which again, really stinks because Tessa Bailey is one of my favorites. The next question is Biggest Surprise, and that would have to be Weather Girl by Rachel Lynn Solomon. I have it behind me. Weather Girl by Rachel Lynn Solomon. This book, I hadn't read The X Talk, and I'd heard mixed reviews about The X Talk, and when I picked this up I didn't even realize it was a new release. I actually thought it came out before The X Talk, so I was like, oh, there's not that much hype around it, not that many people are talking about it, I guess it must not be that good. It was phenomenal. It was so good. I loved it so much I gave it 5 stars, and I still feel like there's not enough hype around it. It's her newest release. It came out in 2022. And there's still not enough hype around it, and I think more people need to read it. It has a plus-size hero, a depressed heroine, there's like scheming involved. I loved this book, and if you haven't picked it up yet, do it. Just do yourself a favor and pick it up. The next question is new favorite author. This can be either like a new to you author or a debut author, and I have one of each, so I'm going to say what those are. My favorite new to me author is Kristen Callahan. I read Make It Sweet this month, and I've been like I'm gonna go through her backlist because it was just the way her writing was so good. I absolutely loved that book. There were so many tropes in that book that I enjoy and that I thought were really well done. Like, it's a Grumpy Sunshine book, but I know a lot of people's issue with Grumpy Sunshine right now is that authors are just, it's starting to be so overdone that authors are just kind of starting to make their heroes jerks toward the heroine for absolutely no reason, for the sake of the Grumpy Sunshine enemies to lovers kind of thing. This one, the hero very much has a reason, and I absolutely loved this book. I loved her take on certain tropes, and I am going to be picking up her backlist a lot, I think, especially throughout the rest of the summer. So, Kristen Callahan is my favorite new to me author. I have 2 favorite debut authors, and they are Amy Leah, who wrote Set on You, which I read in June. I'm waiting for it to come in the mail, but Amazon doesn't want to give it to me, apparently. The other one is Carly Fortune, who is getting so much hype right now for her book, Every Summer After. And I think it's pretty well deserved. It's a very good book. What was that for? Okay, the next one is Newest Fictional Crush, so new book boyfriends. I have 2. Tobias Rhodes, even though he is old enough to be my father. Tobias Rhodes from All Roads Lead Here by Mariana Zapata. And then Scott Ritchie from Set on You. And I really love them both. And I don't really have much more to say about it than that. I will talk about Scott Ritchie in my June wrap-up, which I think should be the video right before this if you haven't seen that yet. Newest favorite character. Okay, so this one was interesting because I didn't love the book that she was in. I gave the book an actual 3 stars, but the character, Lily Wilder from Something Wilder, I just thought that she was such an amazing heroine of the book. She's so cool, she's so driven, and she's so like tough, and she like rides horses, and she knows how to rough it in the wilderness, and I really loved her. I really loved her. So she's definitely one of my new favorite characters, even though I didn't really love her romance. I mean, I did, but the book was weird. Again, I talk about it in my June wrap up, but it was a weird book. But I really loved Lily Wilder. Books that made you cry. It's hard for a book to make me cry, like fully. So I'm going to go with this year. Every Summer After, I cried a little bit at, I cried a little bit. I think I can tell you because it's not a spoiler. The whole book is because she goes back to this summer home that she like grew up going to. She goes back because her best friend at the summer home, who she hasn't spoken to in many years, his mom dies, and I cried at the funeral scene. I also cried at Long Shot by Kennedy Ryan. I cried mostly out of frustration, but that counts. So I cried at that book too. Books that made you happy. I have 2 Christina Laurens. I have Love in Other Words by Christina Lauren. That book just felt very much just happy, and I didn't feel frustration or like there was not a lot of, I mean, I guess there's angst. I don't know. It felt very fluffy and like happy to me. It felt like a very wholesome book. And then The Soulmate Equation felt the same way. It felt very wholesome, and even like the conflict that is always inevitably at the end didn't upset me like most books do. Most beautiful book I've bought this year. I don't have it with me, but I really love the cover of Malibu Rising by Taylor Jenkins Reid. The book was My stepmom's reading it right now, so that's why I don't have it with me. But I really like this cover. I think the cover is really cool. And I was like reading it at the beach, and I was like, I look really cool reading this book with a beautiful cover. But it was just an book. Why do I keep giving up? I don't know why I keep giving a thumbs up. That's not me. That's not who I am. What books do you need to read by the end of the year? I have a list, and I'm gonna look at my phone and give you 5. Terms and Conditions by Lauren Asher. I have read 25% of it. I will finish it before the end of the year just because I own the fine print and I like to keep series together. So I'm gonna try to read it, whether I buy it and read it or I read it and then buy it. I need to finish that book by the end of the year. Everything I Know About Love by Dolly Alderton. I actually bought this book yesterday, so that one I will be reading before the end of the year, probably within the next month. The X Talk by Rachel Lynn Solomon, because I loved Weather Girl so much. I want to give that book a shot. Funny You Should Ask by Alyssa Sussman. I don't know much about this book, but the cover's beautiful and I want to buy it. So I want to read it, again, hopefully by the end of the summer, but definitely by the end of the year. And I want to read the whole Bergman Brothers series by Chloe Liese, however you pronounce it, by the end of the year, for sure. I really loved Ever After Always. So, and the last question is favorite booktubers of 2022. Those are easy. Steph Borer, Sarah Caroli, Destiny Sidwell, and Chandler Ainsley, for sure, are my forever, favorite booktubers. I will link them down below, but you probably already know who they are. Anyway, my brother has decided to start showering, so I think you can hear the water. So I'm gonna go, but I hope you liked this video. Like, comment, and subscribe if you feel so inclined, and I will see you next Wednesday when I talk about more books. Bye guys.